get started. So I will share my screen. Okay, hello everyone. Even though the account says Keyboon, I'm actually Jessie using Keyboon's account. I'm the MCVP IGV Enabler Experience, and welcome to tonight's webinar where we're talking about CRM execution. So today's content is going to be the following. We're going to have a quick check-in and see where everyone is at, talk about what our context is for IGV this summer peak, look at what CRM actually is, talk about engaging and securing enablers for IGV, EPJD alignment and expectation setting, looking at the next steps, so what needs to be done after this webinar, and finally, go into some feedback to understand how we can continue to improve our education series. So because I'm currently on full screen, this means that I can't see anything that you're writing in the chat box, if you do write anything. So if you have anything to say, feel free to unmute and just shout out. Okay, so firstly is check-in, and the question is, what are your expectations towards this space? So I can put it back onto the screen with all of the agenda content for today, and I'll give about 1 minute thinking time just for you to think about what do you actually want to achieve from attending this space today. So I'll start 1 minute now. 30 seconds left. Ten seconds. Okay, so time is up. Hopefully you've had enough space to think about what is your expectation. Maybe Alan can start.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so about my expectation is to clearly know about CRM and to build the effective way to secure our users. So, Alan,
Okay, thank you, Alan. And I'm not sure who's in the call right now. I think I saw Marion. If not,
Hi everyone.
okay.
Sorry. Okay. Actually, I'm not really sure what is gonna be discussing today, but I'm willing to learn. I mean, to see what is it that it's gonna be discussing, like in this webinar. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And who else still needs to check in?
Thank you.
I will check in next. So today I wish to learn more on how to have escalation setting between the EPs and the enablers. So I'm Ming Hui, I'm checking in.
Thank you, Ming Hui. Has anyone else joined the call that needs to check in?
Stephanie?
Sorry, I think I didn't say that. Marian, I'm checking in. Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Marion. Stephanie, are you ready to check in?
Hi everyone. So because I'm late, so I didn't have enough time to have expectation setting for this. So maybe I think we can proceed like with the continue.
That's okay. Anyone else to check in? If no, then we will proceed. So the first topic of discussion I'm going to take you through is our context for IGV this summer peak. So the main outcome is that you can all understand the importance and urgency of securing enablers for summer peak IGV projects. What I have up on the screen is taken from Expa earlier today. And as you can see, currently for ISEC in Malaysia, we're sitting on 238 approved, which means that now we have actually confirmed 238 young people around the world who are going to come to Malaysia in summer to make impact in our communities and also towards themselves in their leadership development. And that is fantastic. Like, that's really, really great because we're also growing compared to last year, which means we're delivering more impact. 238 approves means that we will start to have a big summer of big stories and really make sure that IGV can help us achieve our vision in ISEC in Malaysia, which is every youth in Malaysia is actively involved in building a united nation. So that is the really great news. This screen, and you don't have to read everything that's on here, is the one-pager which was developed to actually understand what is IGV enabler experience and how enablers, which are the 4 categories of organizations you see here, help us to run our IGV projects. And the thing is, according to information that was gathered almost a week ago, you can see in this bottom right-hand corner that we still have a way to go to secure our enablers, because actually our enablers were all meant to be secured by the end of last month. And out of the 250 reported goals, which came from, I believe, 11 entities, so we're still missing a few here, only 65 of them have been confirmed for this summer, which is only 26% of all the enablers that we actually need. If you were in last week's webinar, you would know this diagram, which is this idea that if ISEC is circle number A and organizations in Malaysia are circle B, that we want to work with organizations in Malaysia in C in the middle. And what organizations do up here at the top is that they enable real and relevant environments for youth leadership development. What does that actually mean, enabling real and relevant environments? In order to run projects that we're approving EPs for those 238 people and hundreds more that we want to bring in this summer, we need to have our enablers secured and work with them to make our big summer happen. So if you see, we still have a way to go to make sure that we secure these enablers. And we can't do it without them, because without our enablers, we don't have projects. And if we don't have projects, we don't have the ability to create leadership development in young people and bring impact towards our community. So before we go into the next topic about what is CRM and how it actually helps this situation, does anyone have any questions about the first section?
No, cool.
Thank you. Okay, if you do come up with a question, please jot it down for yourself and you can feel free to ask it at a later stage. Great. So what is CRM exactly? And how can you understand CRM is a practice and not just a tool? CRM is customer relationship management. And this is important for us to remember, because if we think about our situation right now, where we do only have about a quarter of all the enablers that we need, and we need to make sure that the enablers actually benefit from the projects that we run as well, then CRM is our guide to making sure that we can really manage the relationships we have with our enablers so that they can be satisfied working with us on our projects, developing leadership in young people with us, and also continue to work with us in the future. So let's go through customer relationship management. The definition is that it is the practices, strategies, and technologies that companies use to manage and analyze customer interactions and data through the customer lifecycle, with the goal of improving business relationships with customers, assisting in customer retention, and driving sales growth. Now, I don't expect everyone to memorize this, and we're actually going to go through it step by step. So don't worry, we're going to explore what this means. Firstly, the practices, strategies, and technologies. So with this, we saw last week, and you can access the slides which talked about the Podio CRM, that part of what we need to do is make sure that we have the right system. So the Prodeo CRM, which now 10 out of 14 entities in ISEC in Malaysia are using, is designed for us to be able to keep track of all of the enablers that we are in contact with and make sure that we can actually manage them properly. So, managing and analyzing customer interactions and data. If we have systems like Prodeo and we also have strategies knowing that we need to take care of our customers, what does this actually mean? How do we manage and analyze? Number one is we have the enabler value delivery minimums. If you haven't seen this before, this is the checklist to make sure that this summer we deliver all of these things to our enablers so that they can be satisfied with working with ISEC and continue to work with us. So what you see are different points that we need to carry out throughout the process, whether it's aligning the JD and specifying it in point number one, whether it is creating a booklet so that they can be ready, introducing the EP to the enabler, and so on and so forth. This is one way that we actually have our strategies and we can manage the customer relationship with our enablers. We also have a number of resources. Firstly is the IGV and local volunteer timeline. What this is, and you can access this on the slide later, is if you click into this, it actually shows you when IGV and LV have their timeline together. It shows you when we should be approving EPs, when they will be realized. It also shows you for enabler side what it actually means to have to secure our enablers and make sure we deliver value to them according to the timeline with our EPs. We have an enabler SOP. So these two things are in the same spreadsheet. The enabler SOP shows you from attraction to consideration to value delivery and brand advocacy, what we should be doing for enablers at every single step. And we're going to go through some of this SOP a bit later on in this webinar. Next is attraction GCPs. Last night, we held a GCP space where different entities attended and shared with each other what is actually going well within their LCs to attract and secure enablers right now. So this link can actually take you to the output, which shows you the GCP as well as the Q&A space that was had. You can read through the minutes and learn through what entities are doing. Next is the Prodeo CRM. So this is the topic of last week's webinar where we learned how to actually use the CRM. This is a guide, the CRM how-to, which is a step-by-step process of what you need to do to fill in the CRM. We have our national ER principles. What these are is that they are a series of rules to make sure that we as ISEC in Malaysia, we are not double contacting different organizations, and also that we are not contacting big organizations which on the national team in the member committee that we're already looking after. It's very annoying for organizations to be contacted by ISEC in multiple times. So all of us need to be familiar with the national ER principles to make sure that we don't have this overlap with any national activity. Finally is the MC prospect list. So as entities at local level, you can actually see who are the organizations that MC is contacting. So these are all the resources, and on the slides, they each lead towards the link, so you can actually have a further closer look. If you are on the slides right now, I would invite you to actually come onto the Google Hangout so you can watch the screen share, so we can all be on the same page at the same time, because there's a lot of links, so I wouldn't like anyone to get distracted and just to be focused on this webinar. Next, in the definition of customer relationship management, is that we do all of these things throughout the customer lifecycle. There's a lot of different names for this journey that customers go through. So whether we call it customer lifecycle, customer journey, customer experience, or for us, we have a customer flow, actually it's all describing the same thing. If you think about being a customer, the first time that you come in contact with an organization is when you see the first advertisement, or maybe when you get the first point of contact. And for us, this comes in 4 stages: attraction, consideration, value delivery, and brand advocacy. And in all of these stages, we are constantly interacting with our customers and delivering something different to them. In attraction, they're getting to know ISEC for the first time. They're getting to know our value proposition, why they should work with us. Consideration is when we are in the stages of deciding how exactly ISEC and this organization can work together. Value delivery, where we deliver the global volunteer projects and the product for them. And finally, brand advocacy, where if we do a good job, then the organizations will actually promote ISEC. The important thing to remember for customer relationship management is that it happens throughout the customer flow. So things don't end at brand advocacy. If we do a good job of brand advocacy, then they actually enter into attraction phase again, because that means that they then become our customer. Or even if organizations don't continue to work with us, this means that they're so happy with our experience that they will tell other organizations about us. And CRM is not just about, okay, now we attracted them, let's go do something else. Throughout the whole experience, we need to be constantly managing our customer relationship, because that's what's going to make sure that they are actually happy with the services that we provide. Finally, improving business relationship with customers and assisting in customer retention. These two are goals for why we even do customer relationship management in the first place. And they are directly related towards the measures of success that we want to see for this summer. Number one is the retention rate. Number two is the overall NPS. NPS stands for Net Promoter Score, and it basically is a way to calculate that of all the enablers that we work with, that there is a majority of them who are actually actively telling other people that working with ISEC is a great experience. And if a lot of these people are saying that working with ISEC is great, then actually we can really make sure that we retain most of them. That of 10 enablers that we work with, 7 of them are going to stay with us and continue to work with us for different projects. So before we go into engaging and securing enablers, are there any questions about what is CRM? If not at this stage, again, make sure you write anything down that comes to mind and ask it at the end. So now we're going to move on into engaging and securing enablers, which has the objective that you know how to get the right enablers for your projects. So I mentioned that there's an enabler SOP, the standard operating procedure, before, and this is the first 2 parts of it. This is for attraction and consideration. So as you can see, in each phase, there's something that the enabler does and something that ISEC does. For the enabler, it's about getting to understand ISEC before agreeing to work with us. Simple. What's not so simple is on our end, in order for those 2 things to happen, there's a lot of things that we do need to do. Here, I've listed out the resources again, because these are some handy things that will actually allow you to complete the attraction and consideration stage. This is the part that I do want you to take note of, because even though we are doing a great job of now using the Podio CRM, there is still some overlap where entities are not always checking whether some other entity has actually contacted an organization first, or sometimes they're contacting big companies like Nestle or ministries, federal ministries, and these are things which we must avoid. So let's make sure that we can actually do customer relationship management in the right way and avoid this overlap. And this is the part that I would urge you all to take note of. So what is actually the flow of all of this area? We have starting from contacting enablers into the EP realization here, which covers from attraction, consideration, and value delivery for enablers. And we're going to go through some of them right now. Firstly, how do you make initial contact and contacting the enabler? You can see here that there is a process. It starts with researching, making initial contact, following up, having a first meeting, and more following up. So let's talk about making initial contact. And to do this, actually, it's already happening inside ISEC in Malaysia. So across ISEC in Malaysia, in different entities, people are already knowing how they should make initial contact. And here are a few different GCPs for you. Firstly, from Penang, they recommend that you contact past aligned enablers. So all LCs have actually had past enablers before. And what Penang has found is that even if they don't work with IGV, as long as they are aligned, that they have a vision which is in line with what ISEC does, if they have needs which are being solved by the kind of things that ISEC does in our IGV projects, then the easiest way to start working with enablers is actually to contact your past enablers. These people, they've already worked with you. They know what ISEC is like. If they had a good experience, it should be very easy to re-engage them. If they didn't have such a good experience, this is the perfect chance to practice customer relationship management, make sure that we solve all the issues that were previously created, and we can start a new relationship by having those enablers work with us in a new project. Secondly is from Kuching, getting involved in organizations' events. Toastmasters Kuching is a club over in Sarawak, which some of the members have actually been involved in helping out at their events. Through helping out at the events, one of the members actually managed to meet with the organizer, the president of the event and of the club. And because this personal relationship was actually established, this made it easier to understand more about Toastmasters, what are their challenges, what are the things that they need to get done, and also to introduce ISEC. So through this way, you can actually get a better understanding of the organization to see how you can work together. Next up from UKM is to seek for resources such as from universities. Universities, they also have contacts. Universities have different resources, and right now, as ISEC, we are all based at different universities across Malaysia. So it makes a lot of sense to reach out to your faculty or your department and really seek for resources. Who knows that sometimes your university itself might even become your enabler through being your learning partner or something similar to actually support your project. So make sure you do reach out to your universities. The final example that I will share for initial contact comes from Utah. Utah has been contacting different schools for their projects, and they've been finding that across different schools, sometimes for the Speak Up project, it is the English teacher that they contact. Sometimes it's the counselor. The general recommendation I would like to make for you here is to contact the PIC or the decision maker of the organization. So let's say you want to contact a company to become your financial partner. So this company has different people working for it, and maybe if you contact someone who is only working there for, say, a few days, or they're not working in a very high up position, they can't always help you make the decision to have the organization become your enabler. So in this case, you need to make sure that you contact someone who can make decisions and can make sure that you can proceed with the partnership. On this slide, you can see the more detailed GCPs, which have the notes from what actually happened. So these are just 4 examples of how you can start to do your initial contact. 4 different ways, and neither of them is right or wrong. It's just ways that you can really make sure that you can start to reach out to more organizations and get in contact with them. One way I haven't even listed on here is really you can do a Google search. You know what your project is for. You know which SDG you want it to be aligned for, and to find the different NGOs or organizations near your LC or your entity. Simply jump onto Google and see what you find, get into contact with them, give them a call, and proceed from there. Making initial contact should not be something which is very difficult. Now we're moving on to having the initial meeting with the enabler. So, how do you contact an initial meeting with potential enablers? It starts even before the meeting. You've made initial contact, and now they've agreed to have a meeting with you. So what do you need to do? Firstly, is set the meeting with a clear objective. Sometimes people go into meeting and their thought process is, I simply want to discuss. Discussion does not get you an outcome. As ISEC, we want to develop leadership. As organizations in Malaysia, they have things that they want to do. Whether they are an orphanage, whether they are a company, it doesn't matter whatever they are, they really want to achieve something. So make sure you're clear that your first meeting is designed to understand the needs and suitability of the organization and ISEC to work together, especially through the IGV project. Number 2 is knowing the topics you want to discuss. Their objectives, their challenges, and benefits. These are 3 things that you can ask them about, which will allow you to know the organization more and allow you to see how this organization can work with ISEC. Our focus on youth leadership. Why do we say this? Because sometimes organizations, they only see us as a volunteering organization. Or for people working in GT and GE, they only see it as a recruitment, an HR organization. We're none of those things. We're a youth leadership development organization. So the first meeting is a perfect chance to tell them that this is what we're all about. Finally, how can the project be a solution for them? So how can they not just be impressed that, yes, we are running this project, that they actually see this is something which can help them achieve something they want to do in their objectives, which solves one of their challenges and can bring them benefits. Next is to know the project well to be able to answer any of their questions. Especially for PBox, you already know what is the project that you want to run. You should have materials which are friendly for the enabler to read. So don't talk about any ISAC acronyms, EP, GV, all of these things, they don't know what it is. Use plain and simple language to make sure that they can understand the project. And before you go to the meeting, finally, brainstorm some benefits and outcomes to be achieved for your enabler through the project that you can validate during the meeting. Validate means that until you talk to them, all of these brainstorming things, they are assumptions. They could be right, they could be wrong. So when you talk to them throughout the meeting, you can actually make sure to know that your enabler actually needs the project in the ways that you imagined, or through the meeting, you can discover the new ways that the enabler can actually benefit from working with you in the project. So these 4 points are things that you do before the meeting. So what could your meeting notes look like? At the top, you could write down the objective. I really like to do this when I go to meetings with enablers because this keeps me on track. This means that no matter what happens in the meeting, I can check at the end whether or not my objective was achieved. The next thing I like to do is to write down the conversation topics. So when I've achieved a conversation topic, such as customer understanding, I can actually cross it out because meetings, they can sometimes contain a lot of different information. And if you want to make sure that you're meeting your objective, crossing out the topics as you achieve them can help you to keep track of what still needs to be discussed. The final crucial thing, which I really like to do, is to write down action steps. So sometimes the enabler will want to know more information from us, and we don't always have the information there. So we might say something like, okay, I can send that to you next week. So what you would write down is, get more information for enabler, you put yourself as the PIC, and you put a deadline for next week. So that as you're going through the meeting, not only are you getting more information from the meeting itself, you also know what needs to happen afterwards. So what happens during the meeting? During the meeting, introduce the objective and the topics that you'd like to cover. Ask the organization if there's anything else they want to cover, because not always the things that you want to talk about are the things that they want to talk about. So you need to make sure that you can also meet their needs for having this meeting in the first place. Take notes referring to a sheet, the previous slide that has your objective and topics written on them. As you cover them, you can cross them off so you can keep track. Take down the action steps during the meeting and summarize them at the end. And if necessary, set a follow-up meeting at the end of this meeting. So here, as mentioned, these action steps are really crucial because once you actually write them down, you can end the meeting by saying, okay, so there are 5 things we need to do. 3 of them, I will get to you, and 2 of them, you said that you'll get to me. So this way, we can be very on track about what needs to happen next. So once this has been completed, firstly, send a follow-up communication thanking the enabler for their time and providing them the action step summary. This makes sure that you can really keep track of what needs to happen, and both of you have a copy of the action steps. Next is to communicate with the enabler. Call, email, WhatsApp, whatever is your usual method, because each enabler will be different once you achieve your own action steps. So this helps to build CRM. This builds the customer relationship because what they see each time you communicate with them is that you're delivering a promise to them. Each action step is a promise that you make to your customer. And each time you deliver the promise, they will trust you more and they will want to work with you more. And you can gently remind them to follow up about theirs. So it's a perfect reason to get in touch because they also have things that they need to send to you. And you can say it through things like, oh, and I would really love to get that brochure that you say you would send to me. Something like that. Finally, ensure all action steps are completed before the next meeting to ensure progress. Remember, at the end of the day, we're not having meetings simply for the fun of it or simply for the sake of it. We need to make sure that it's actually achieving outcomes for us and for the organization that we want to work with. So always keep in mind the progress. As you can see, having a meeting with the initial enabler to having the benefit alignment, there should be maximum 1 week. So all of these things done to make sure that we proceed and can make progress, we should make sure that we can have the right idea of how the project actually enables the enabler to have benefit from it. Next is about signing the MOU to secure the enabler. And in order to achieve this, what needs to happen are 2 things. One is follow up with a tailored value proposition. So in this meeting, you got to find out what the organization is actually about. So you really understand, okay, these are the things that I know of them, and here's how the project can benefit them. And it is crucial that you deliver to them, okay, this is what I think is going to be the way that we can work together. Even better if you can meet with them again to discuss in person. If not, you can send through materials to make sure that they can see that you are on top of your game. The next thing is that sometimes enablers, they need to discuss with other people in their organization before they officially become our customer. So we need to make sure that we can have all of the details of how we're really going to work together. So they say, yep, I really like what it is that we're going to do. Now let's come up with a timeline. Let's sign the MOU. And all of this should happen within a week of each other. To get these meetings, you really need to make sure that you do the follow-up in a way that is persistent without being annoying. So the best way to do that is each time you follow up, make sure that you give an update on the progress. Don't simply email and say, hey, I haven't heard from you. Hey, I haven't heard from you. Imagine if you were in those shoes. It's quite annoying. So what you want to do is say, hey, I've actually done this. And then it's like, okay, they have a reason for contacting me. And it also puts in their memory that they should also follow up with you. So what are some GCPs about securing and engaging the enablers? First up, from Penang, they co-design projects for mutual benefits. So this isn't simply just ISEC saying, okay, this is the project, you take it or leave it. ISEC has an idea about what should the project look like and working together with the enabler, because the enabler is often the organization who has the social issue or who has the expertise, really making sure that the project is aligned so that enablers can also receive the benefits. Designing activities together for the enabler's clear understanding. This one comes from Utah. So this one is about really talking, say, with the school and understanding what the school actually wants to happen for the students, and together being able to design the activities happening within the project. This means you have more likelihood of having the enabler work with you because it's super customized towards them. Listen and incorporate feedback into the project design. I was lucky enough to go on a meeting with KP when I was visiting their LC, and the school was telling us a lot of insights. They said, we really want you to have more interactive activities because kids can get bored when they're simply sitting in the classroom listening to someone talk. They told us that they love Global Village because it gives the kids a really exciting opportunity to interact with different cultures. This kind of feedback is important to put into the project because the school, our customer, is telling us that this is what they want to see. Finally, from UPM, consistent virtual and physical follow-up. This one is not challenging to do because following up in itself is not difficult. The challenge lies in the consistency. That if you really want to make sure that you can get those enablers, you can't tell them, I will contact you next week and then forget to do it. You really need to make sure that you can do it, and it's as easy as making it into a routine. Again, you can see the detailed GCPs from LCs down there. So what is an MOU and why do we need one? An MOU stands for Memorandum of Understanding. It's a written and signed agreement between 2 parties. The MOUs we currently use with organizations is not legally binding. So you're not legally obliged towards that organization. They're not legally obliged towards us. It's more about clarity. You can see a draft example for opportunity provider enablers on this slide. And that will just give you an idea about how to make the agreement super, super clear. For summer peak, have clear deliverables. So please have a written agreement with your enablers on the clear deliverables from each party. This is what ISEC will do. This is what the enabler will do. This is when they will do it. That is recorded and uploaded onto Podio. So while not every MOU has to look like the one that you'll see linked here, the purpose that it serves is to make sure that there is an agreement. And for this summer, the priority is making sure that the agreement is super clear. As we grow IGV even more in the future, there will be a need to have very standardized MOUs to make sure that everything is super clear, because the more we work with organizations, the more that there could be risk involved, and we want to make sure that we can deliver our promises in a way that's clearly agreed upon. For this summer, this is your main call to action. Okay, that was quite a long segment, so I will remind you again, what we just went through was actually about securing EPs and securing enablers and engaging with them at the same time. And with all the things that we talked about, this is the flow of what it actually looks like. So just a moment and space for anyone to ask any questions that came up during that segment.
Hello, Jesse.
Yes.
Shen here. Let us currently I'm going to engage the organization. So I got 2 emails of the CEO and the general manager. So who should I email to?
Okay, so in the case where you're not so sure, and thank you for the question, I would recommend that you actually start with the CEO in most cases. And depending on how large the organization is, sometimes the CEO is too busy. So maybe their secretary will pass you on to someone else. If you don't get any reply from the CEO, then it's okay to contact the general manager, because most of the time the general manager is handling more of the on-the-ground operational kind of things. One thing that I do want to note as well is if this is a very large organization, it's probably a good idea to go check the national ER principles and also get in contact with Kibun, because for very large organizations, there could be overlap between what we do on the MC and also what LCs are doing. So to answer your question, you can start with the CEO. If the CEO doesn't reply, you can talk to the general manager.
Oh, okay, thank you, Jesse.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna go through this content again. If it sparks any questions, please let me know. Great. Let's move on to the next one, which is EP-JD alignment and expectation setting, which is the objective. I know why, how, and when to do EP-JD alignment and expectation setting with my enablers. So, from last week's webinar, for enablers this summer peak, the golden rule that I mentioned, and I will reinforce again, is that your checklist is your plan. So the checklist is actually the enabler value delivery minimums, which we saw just before. And the idea is make it as easy as possible for you to implement these things for your enablers. Taking care of our enablers doesn't have to be a hard thing to do. We just need to have the right consistency and discipline to carry these things out. And again, you have the links to the resources which will enable you to do them. The key thing that is very, very important is to establish that weekly routine. Something that I noticed from UPM, their consistency is because they have this routine to be able to contact with their enablers, and it's just something which they constantly do. And I really believe that the best way to achieve success is for all LCs to have this weekly routine in mind. If Tuesday is your day for contacting enablers, then make it on Tuesday. Keep in mind, Monday is not a great day because organizations tend to be quite busy. So Tuesday is ideal. Make sure you do that every Tuesday. Maybe Thursday is your follow-up day. So make sure that every Thursday during this time you do it. Something which I did when I was in an LC, and even though I worked for IGT, the idea is very similar. I would actually get all my members to come together on Wednesday for 2 hours, and they would sit in a room and they would do all of their contacting and follow up together. So this actually created some good accountability amongst the team to make sure that these things can happen. So this is the checklist. That's how you make it happen. What we're going to look at today is specification of JD, which is the JD alignment for the EP JD with the enablers side. When should JD alignment happen? In the flow, it happens at 2 stages. One is after you actually sign the MOU with your enabler, and before the EP gets accepted and improved into the project. The second time that it happens is once the EP is realized. And when you actually introduce them, you do the JD alignment and the expectation setting to make sure that everything is clear. Today, we're going to focus on the JD alignment that happens before the EP is accepted and approved. So even though our reality right now is that there's 238 EPs who've already been approved, and not all of them have had JD alignment with their enablers, the key thing to remember is that it must happen at least before the EP comes, and every change needs to be communicated with the EP themselves. If the JD has changed because the enabler wants it to, and you don't tell this to the EP, remember EP is also our customer and they are our main customer. So whatever changes happen must be communicated to them so that they really understand what they're going to get themselves into when they arrive into Malaysia. So the process is exactly the same as the initial meeting, just the content is different. So beforehand, it's also about setting the meeting with a clear objective. In this case, it's aligning on the EP's activities and outcomes to ensure they achieve benefits for all involved, both for the EP side as well as for the enabler side. Again, know the project well enough that any of the very specific questions enabler have, you can really answer. And know the benefits and outcome to be achieved for your enabler through the project. They are already working with you. You already signed the MOU. By the time you sign the MOU, this means you understand the organization as your enabler well enough to know what you should be achieving for them. You should know these to make sure that your conversation can be clear and focused. This is very important to make sure that you don't end up discussing very, very random things, that you're really focused on this is the benefit, this is the outcome, this is how it happens through the project. Finally, knowing the topics you want to discuss, such as the working roles as well as the outcome. During the meeting, same thing, introduce the objective and topic, ask them if they want to cover anything else, take notes, referring to the sheet, take down action steps and summarize them at the end, and if necessary, set a follow-up meeting at the end of this meeting. So, the sheet's set up in the exact same way. These are the objectives. The conversation topics are different. Firstly, to reconfirm the enabler role and benefit in the overall project. What does this sound like? It's like saying something like, okay, great. So when we agreed that we would actually work together, we mentioned that you would provide this kind of knowledge or you would take on this many interns into your organization and it would help you achieve X, Y, and Z. Working hours. If it's an opportunity provider or a school or an NGO that the EP is volunteering at, to have very clear agreement about these are the hours that they will actually work in. Next is getting their insight on whether the JD will help to achieve the agreed outcomes. So now we're literally looking at every activity that the EP will do and asking ourselves, is this going to help the project be successful? And is this going to help you as the enabler be successful? Finally, is anything else that the enabler wants to discuss? And similar thing to cross them off while you go along to make sure that you know what's being achieved. Action step, action step, action step. Must have the action steps to know what's going to happen after this meeting so you can be super, super clear. So afterwards, same thing, follow-up communication, communicate with the enabler to get everything done, and finally, ensure any changes are reflected in XBA. So on Youth Opportunity Portal, when our EPs actually go on, they should have the correct expectation for their role because we want to make sure that all of our customers are clear on this is the thing that should happen. JD alignment summary. Number one, JD alignment is a form of expectation setting between ISEC, EP, and enabler to make sure that the work carried out achieves benefits for all parties. So even though we didn't cover how to do alignment with the EP yet, and we're just focusing on JD alignment now, what you're doing is making sure that the JD is challenging for the EPs, it's going to allow them to develop their leadership, and it's going to achieve outcomes for the enabler. Point number two. Before accepting the EP is when we should be aligning JDs, and once the EP has been realized is the second point. If any more adjustments need to be made, it should be clearly communicated with both the EP and the enabler. Following the stages to prepare, conduct, and follow up the meeting, put everything onto the interactions and negotiation space on the Podio CRM. Don't know how to do that? Check out last week's webinar. The thing is that every time you meet with the enabler, you should be putting the output onto the Podio space. The preparation, the output should all be there, because when all of us are gone from ISEC, the people who are going to continue to work in ISEC, continue to work with the enablers, they need to see what actually went on. Finally, when JD alignment has been completed, select the specification and alignment of JD with enabler box in the interactions and negotiation space. So when you scroll down in that area, you will see that there's different boxes. Just click the box, make it green to show that you have actually done this. Cool. So now moving on into next steps. That is all the content which we covered for today. And what I want to do before we go on into what is the challenge and the call to action is just pause for a moment again and ask if there's any questions from the space that we went through for JD alignment. If no, then we'll move on into the challenges. There's 2 challenges today. One is a 72-hour challenge and one is an April challenge for the rest of this month. The month challenge is that all enablers are to be secured and updated via the scoreboard. What does the scoreboard look like? I'll show you now. This is the current scoreboard, which shows you how many of the enablers which LCs plan to get and how many of them have actually been secured. So the idea is that throughout this month, every time you actually get an enabler on board, you make sure everything is recorded in Podio, upload the documentation, and update it in this scoreboard. When this is updated, I will also be checking in Podio to make sure that the documentation is there. And this is to ensure that we can all have all of our enablers by the end of this month. May and June is key preparation periods to make sure that our enablers are ready to receive the EPs with us. So it's very important that by the end of April, this can actually happen. That is one challenge. The next challenge, the 72-hour challenge, is that all interactions and negotiations are updated. So if you have made any contact, had any meetings with any of your enablers, the first challenge last week was to make sure that the enablers are on Podio. The second challenge is making sure that all of your interactions and negotiations are updated. We will also be keeping track of which LCs are actually updating their interaction spaces. Some LCs have already started, which is really great to see. And we will make sure that this is something which happens across all the LCs so that we can really do CRM, which is everything that we learned about, in the proper way. So the 2 challenges again. Number 1, all enablers secured by the end of this month. Number 2 is within the next 72 hours, all interactions and negotiations so far are updated. Now we're going to head into a recap. We covered 4 things today. Number 1, our context for IGV this summer peak. We have 238 EPs. Let's make sure that we have all of our enablers for all of our projects to make sure that the projects can happen for these EPs and the EPs that we're still approving. Second, we learned about customer relationship management. It's about the practices. It's about the tools and the strategies. It's about making sure that we have the information, we analyze the relationships properly so that we can actually continue to work with these customers. Number 3, we talked about engaging and securing enablers. This is how you do initial contact. This is how you have a meeting. And this makes sure that we can really have all the enablers on board to make sure that the project happens in a way that benefits for the enablers. Finally, EPJD alignment and expectation setting. We went through how is that meeting actually supposed to look like. In your project frameworks, you already have the EPJD. How can you make sure that it's really to the requirement that the enablers really need to make sure that the enablers also can benefit from the project outcome and the activities that the EPs can do. Now is the time to do some feedback. So before we do, I want to just do like a final check and make sure if anyone has any questions on the content that we covered today. And I'll actually give you some time for this. So instead of just waiting for anyone to ask some questions, I'm actually going to put 2 minutes on the clock. So in these 2 minutes, please do go to the slides, have a read through all of the content, and at the end of the 2 minutes, I will ask if anyone has any questions about the content that we covered today.
The club isn't the best place to find the lovers, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, tripping fast, and then we talk slow. Come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now take my hand, stop it, and the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. Last night you were in my room, and now my bedsheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with your body. Oh, I'm in love with you.
Okay, 2 minutes is up. Does anyone need more time? Also, can anyone check the Hangout to see if any questions have been typed instead of spoken? Okay, well, if everyone is good, then let's head into feedback. So I'm going to put a few minutes on the timer just so that you can actually evaluate what it is that you learned today and give us any suggestions to improve. After this, I'll be doing a recap of what actually happened today, and then we'll wrap up this session. So in this time, of course, while you're evaluating, because it's only 6:30 right now, we do have time for anyone's questions. So instead of wrapping up straight away, I will leave some space for people to think again about any questions they might have before we end everything. For now, please enter this URL into your browser or click onto it if you're on the slides, and I'll give you a few minutes for that.
I do my makeup in somebody else's car. We ordered different drinks at the same bars. I know about what you did and I wanna scream the truth. She thinks you love the beach, you're such a damn liar. Well, those great whites, they have big teeth. Oh, they bite you. That you said that you would always be in love, but you're not in love no more. Did it frighten you? How we kissed when we danced on the light of floor, on the light of floor. But I hear sounds in my mind, brand new sounds in my mind. But honey, I'll be seeing you ever I go. But honey, I'll be seeing you down every road. I'm waiting for it, that green light. 'Cause honey, I'll come get my things, but I can't let go. I'm waiting for it, that green light. Oh, I wish I could get my things and just let go. I'm waiting for it, that green light. I want it. Sometimes I wake up in a different bedroom. I whisper things, the city sings them back to you. Well, those rumors, they have big teeth. Oh, they bite you. Thought you said that you would always be in love, but you're not in love no more. Did it frighten you? How we kissed when we danced on the light of floor, on the light of floor. But I hear sounds in my
2 minutes left.
brand new sounds in my mind. But honey, I'll be seeing you ever I go. But honey, I'll be seeing you down every road. I'm waiting for it, that green light. 'Cause honey, I'll come get my things, but I can't let go. I'm waiting for it, that green light. Oh, honey, I'll come get my things, but I can't let go. I'm waiting for it, that green light. Yeah, honey, I'll come get my things, but I can't let go. I'm waiting for it, that green light. Oh, I wish I could get my things and just let go. I'm waiting for it, that green light. I want it. I'm waiting for it, that green light. I want it. I'm waiting for it, that green light.
30 seconds left.
I'm waiting for it, that green light. I want it. I'm waiting for it, that green light. I want it. I'm waiting for it, that green light. I want it. I'm waiting for it, that green light. I want it.
Okay, does anyone need more time to fill in the feedback? Okay, if no, then let's go into the recap. So, for our context for IGV this summer peak, the key message was, I understand the importance and urgency of securing enablers for our summer peak IGV projects. The related challenge is to secure your enablers by the end of this month using the tips and tricks and techniques which are discussed in this webinar and also from the GCPs shared by other LCs. Second, what is CRM exactly? I understand CRM as a practice, not just a tool, and know about customer relationship management and its importance, basically. Next, engaging and securing enablers. I know how to get the right enablers for my projects. And finally, EP-JD alignment and expectation setting. I know why, how, and when to do EP-JD alignment and expectation setting with my enablers, keeping in mind that doing the JD alignment itself is one form of expectation setting. So that is the end of all of the webinar content. So what I'll do now is I will open up some space in case anyone wants to ask any questions.
No from me. Thank you, Jesse.
No problem. Okay, anyone else?
None from me as well, Jesse. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Cool. So, is anyone still thinking by any chance? Nope. Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. I have been recording it and I will make it available. So do make sure that other people in your entity also review and learn from not only the content shared, also what other LCs are doing. And I will release those challenges so that everyone can be on the same page about what you all need to do. And yeah, thank you again, everyone.
Thank you, Jesse, for the session.
Thank
Thank you, Jessie,
you.
for the sharing. Yeah.